So as I said in my review last week for Dragon Quest Dai Episode 5, Dragon Quest Dai Episode 6 begins a new arc in the Dragon Quest Dai story. That's right, with Episode 6, a new chapter begins. With the death of the hero in the previous Vaughn, in the previous episode, now Dai must assume the role of the hero, and the story of this episode is Dai and Pop leaving the island to eventually get to a face-to-face confrontation with the Dark Lord and the Dark King and put them away once and for all. Just like, well, almost every JRPG. And along the way, they run into this like forest with this little girl named Mina, and they end up fighting off these monsters, and they meet a new character, and her name is Maam. Not M-O-M, like, you know, the abbreviation for mother, M-A-A-M. And she is her own sort of heroine character with really, really, really big tits, which is the whole... You've seen this before. You've watched anime. You know what I'm talking about. But Dai and Pop meet her, a new character here, who's going to be an important character for the story very soon. It turns out that they're in the Dark Forest, and that ever since the Dark Lord returned, that tons of monsters have come in, bad monsters too, and sort of taken over the Dark Forest. Now that the Dark Lord is there, the world is in shambles. So the world that existed in this series in the first couple of episodes is gone. Now we got real problems. And like I said last week, it's affecting different parts of the world, not just Dai's Island and places near it. It's all over the place. And what ends up happening is Dai and Pop leave, but they leave behind Gome-chan with Mom or whatever, and that of course will tie their destinies back together in the future. Obviously, they didn't know that they left behind Gome-chan. That would be something they have to deal with later. So as this is going on, the Dark Lord is watching them, and he dispatches the, well, I guess it's like a boss, the Beast King Crocodine. He dispatches Crocodine, one of his generals, to stop Dai, you know, as soon as possible. I guess it is pretty much a boss, right? It's like a video game boss, and that he becomes the villain of the episode. Now, in case you're wondering, Crocodine is an exclusive character to Dragon Quest Dai. He's not a character that appeared in the mainline Dragon Quest games. He's not a boss or whatever. His design is very different than the ones that Toriyama would design for the games. There's similarities, but stylistically, he does not look the same at all. You can tell it's just a different designer. And like I said earlier in previous reviews, the Dragon Quest video game monsters were designed by Toriyama, but the Dai characters were somebody totally different, and thus they have exclusive characters that might look like Toriyama style, but they're really not. But this guy doesn't really look that much like a Toriyama styled character. Like, he really doesn't. But he still looks cool. You know what I mean? Like an orange, like, alligator with armor on. That's kind of cool. It does sound like something Toriyama would draw, right? So Crocodine appears in front of Dai, introduces himself, and calls himself the Legion commander of one of the 6 legions under Hadlar. Like I said, Hadlar did warn him of Dai's power, and he just goes right into battle. So he is not afraid to face off against this boy, even though he is aware that Hadlar was injured in the previous episode by Dai. And this is pretty cool here because Crocodile explains the 6 legions that serve Hadlar. There are 6 different armies of 6 different monster types all over the world, and each one has a leader. And obviously, you know where this is going. Dai will have to face off against them at some point. This is not going to be one of those things where Dai is just going to go ahead and face off against Hadlar right away. He has to go through a quest. He has to go through a journey. He has to gather companions. It's an RPG. And during this montage, we do see some of Toriyama's great character designs for the monsters in this show that he did for the games. It's very, very cool seeing them early before we actually see them. So Pop starts talking trash to him, casts the fire spell of Frizz, and Crocodine just eats the fire spell. Just eats it. Just sucks it up into his mouth and eats it. And we find out that these Legion commanders all have specialties, and their specialties are more powerful than Hadlar. Like, not necessarily that they are more powerful than him, but their special abilities, each individual ones, surpass him based on what he said. That's the way I interpreted what he's talking about. Crocodine and Dai fight, and then Crocodine, of course, finds out that Dai is carrying on the spirit of Avan. We also find out that although Crocodine cannot use spells himself, he has an enchanted axe that can cast spell-like properties, which again, that's also in the game. There are certain weapons in the game, especially I think with Dragon Quest II, it started this, maybe 3, I forget which one, where if you use the weapon as an item, it will cast a spell. And it can be very useful. So in the game, if you have an enemy and you don't want to use a spell, you can always use a weapon as an item in battle, and it'll cast a spell as if it was a spell. So this is, again, accurate to the game. This is so accurate to the game, it's not even funny. Mom ends up saving Pop from a monster and then finds out Mom and Pop. That's the pun, isn't it? Mom and Pop. Anyways, so Mom... Wow. So Mom ends up saving Pop from a monster. I cannot believe I just realized that just now. I really can't. Wow. Anyways, I love it. So, and she gets pissed at him because he abandoned DAI. He ran away like a coward, and now DAI is facing off against this boss by himself. So DAI ends up getting cooked by Crocodine's heat breath attack. Again, accurate to the game. And he's about to freaking get killed. Also, I should mention, I forgot to mention this, we find out that Mom has an insignia of Avon. So she also falls in the line of being students, from the original hero. More on that, of course, in the future. Now, as this is going on, of course, DAI's about to get killed by Crocodine. And then Mom and Pop show up to rescue him. In fact, I should mention that in the next episode of DAI, coming up next week, episode 7, that's going to be a mom-centric episode. We're going to get her backstory, find out how she relates to Avon, really focus on her. But the cliffhanger in this episode seems to be that DAI's about to die, and she has this, She has this gun that can fire spells, and she fires one at DAI, and Pop freaks out, but it looks like the spell she's firing at DAI is either going to be a repel spell or a heal spell because it's a blue sort of aura that surrounds him. So she has a gun that can shoot spells, and that's pretty damn useful if you're not a magic user. And the teaser, I guess, here is supposed to be that as an audience, if you're not familiar with this stuff, you're going to think that DAI's about to get hurt or that she betrayed him. But obviously she's not. That's not the case, because in the next episode preview, we see DAI continue his battle with Crocodine. So I did like this episode. They're introducing Mom already, another member of the party. And as the series progresses, we're going to get more and more heroes joining DAI in his ultimate quest to defeat Hadlar. I'm going to say this as well. Based on the pacing this is going, this is probably not going to be a 2-year anime. Some folks have said that, and I'm guessing maybe at the most a year and a half, at the most. Probably just 1 year. 52 or so episodes. I could be wrong on that because it depends on how fast they adapt it, but the pacing of this is really, really fast compared to what I thought. I mentioned that last week. So, I say maybe by October or December of next year is when this series could end up being over. But I'm ready for the ride. I really am. Anyways, let me know. What did you think of Dragon Quest Episode 6? I will talk to y'all soon. Don't sleep on this show, man. Don't sleep on it. It's really good.